Okay, hi everyone. Sorry we ran out of time in class the other day. I'm going to show you guys how to find primary literature using the USM library website. So for this tutorial, you should have just Google open and maybe have a Google Doc blank page open for your bibliography. And then I'm going to open up another window and I'm going to type in University of Southern Maine Library. Okay, and then you'll see it comes up right here. I just prefer to type in Google because our website in Main Street is kind of a hot mess. So this is an easier way to go right to the library page. And I'm going to scroll down and go to Databases and Guides. And I'm going to go to S for Science. And then under S, we're going to go down to Science Direct, which is one of the most popular ones that people use. It's the one that I prefer to use the most because it'll have chemistry, biology, ecology, pretty much anything sciencey will be under Science Direct. When you click on Science Direct, if the page shows up with if it doesn't look like this and it says like you must log in, you shall not pass, then don't freak out, it's fine. Type in your maine.edu screen name, so mine is just sharon.man, and then you can come up with your own password. If you have a USM email address, so the maine.edu email address, then you will get access to this page for free. So go ahead and do that. And once you're in there, you're going to go right to keywords. And for this part, we're going to keep everything pretty open. So I'm just going to type in bacteria, recreation, and water. So all of us are going to be looking at a recreational water body and bacteria in it, right? So for this bibliography, you don't have to go super focused and know exactly that you're going to be looking at fecal indicator bacterium, or you're going to be looking at depth, or you're going to be looking at, algae. Those things will kind of add on later. For now, I just want you guys to come up with this bibliography, know how to look for papers, and start thinking about these things based on what other people have studied. So if you start kind of reading these titles, and they're going to have like a lot of crazy sciencey things in there, and that's cool. Just like pick up on words that you can. And okay, so this one looks like, ooh, water quality is a predictor for gastrointestinal illness. Recreation water. Okay, so this looks like someone got a bug from swimming in a water body. So that's totally relevant to us. And we're going to click on abstract. So an abstract is a one-paragraph summary of the introduction, the methods, the results, and the discussions in an entire scientific paper. So a scientific paper might be like 20 pages, right? But if you read the abstract, then you have all the highlights right there. So when you're starting off by just kind of doing a bibliography, then you're pretty much just going to be reading the abstracts to begin with. And then when you're writing your report, you'll actually have to read these whole articles to understand that you know exactly what they're saying. So I've had this happen to me many times where I think I know exactly what is happening in a paper because I read the abstract. But then it turns out I read the abstract kind of wrong. And when I read the whole paper, I found out that they were actually saying something that I didn't pick up on. But for now, just look at the abstracts. So start reading this abstract and see if you can understand what's going on. Okay, so that's interesting. So it looks like what this study looked at was the likelihood of people getting sick from bacteria in the water from doing what they're calling incidental contact water recreation. So things like paddling and rowing and fishing. So they're not actually like diving in the water and accidentally engulfing bacteria. So that sounds like a really great thing for us to look into because the water body we're looking at has all those activities. Some of you might have even gone there. So I'm going to download this paper, and if you want to start a file on your computer that's just for microbiology, so go ahead and open a file, label it micro, and put all the papers that you want to use for this study right in that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the title, and I'm going to open a new window. I'm going to type in bib.me, and the first thing that will show up is this free bibliography generator. They're going to try and get you to sign up. Don't do that. Just click I only want to create citations. And remember, we're always going to use APA because that's what scientists use. And then we're going to paste. Okay. And we're going to see what they find. So this is what they found. It looks like they have Lee Liu as an author in 2015. So we're going to go back to our paper and see if that matches up and if that's the right citation. It looks like we have a Lee Liu, June 4th, 2015. So that's great. We are going to select that. And they're always going to tell you that they found a bunch of stuff, but they didn't find some. And that's because some citations are like really overkill on some of the information that they need. Like they want, back in the day when they would actually like publish journals on paper, then you would have the volume, the page number, the edition, and all this stuff. So we're going to hit final step. And the only things that we need to worry about adding are date accessed, which we're going to click as today. And the reason why we do this is because it's not a physical paper, it's actually online. These things get updated all the time, and they don't actually send out a notification to anyone saying like, hello, I've been updated. So when you cite your stuff, if someone reads the most recent edition of that paper, and then they happen to read something you published, and they'll be like, whoa, that guy didn't know what he was talking about. And it might be because you have an older edition. The other thing you can do is add a URL. You will not be required to have a URL for our bibliographies in class. However, it's not a bad idea for you to do that because let's say all of your files got lost in your computer and it's 2 days before your lab report is due and you don't know where any of your prep went, right? So if you have it all saved in a URL, then you just don't have to backtrack and find your citations again. So I can just copy and paste. Alright, that's looking good. And it does have an add annotation right here. I just do it on Google Docs or PDF or whatever I'm using rather than doing it on the website. That way I can kind of make the format how I like it. And then you're going to hit click citation. And you'll see here that it's going to save everything that you are doing like during your session, right? So I've already gotten a couple things here, and it'll alphabetize it for me. So you don't have to copy and paste your citations in your document every single one at a time because it's going to sort it for you, so you might want to wait till the end. So that's great, and then we're going to hit add another citation, and then we're going to go back to our search. So now you know some kind of key terms to find general papers on our topic. You can also just type in like bacteria and pond, or bacteria saltwater, or bacteria freshwater, to keep it open and vague. And when we get down to more specific, then we can do something like this, where we go duck itch. Okay, and then same thing, we're just going to start reading the titles, and in the titles, what we're really looking for is, first of all, do I understand what the hell they're saying? Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Sorry about that. Okay, so like I was saying, you want to know what they're talking about. So on some of these, like species-specific qPCR assays, allow for high-resolution population assessment of 4 species, avian cystones that cause swimmer's itch in recreational lakes. This word is just a fancy way, or it's the type of nematode, which is the parasitic worm that gets in the birds. qPCR is a type of PCR that allows you to just throw a bunch of shit on a plate, or a bunch of shit in a microfuge tube at the same time. So instead of extracting DNA from like one plant or one sample, so you get just this one individual, it will amplify a bunch of things at once, and then it'll have this kind of like selecting thing. So it gets you a lot of results at one time. We won't deal with qPCR in this class. We'll do regular PCR. But this is kind of what I'm saying about, like, don't really click on things that you don't understand yet, because you might misinterpret what the paper's saying. Okay, so this looks good. Not a lot of crazy words. And look, it's a review article. So review articles are not primary primary literature. So primary literature means that there was a scientist and they did a study and then they wrote a paper about it. And that's what research articles are. Review papers take all the findings from a bunch of different researchers and then they summarize it in a paper. So for understanding what swimmer's itch or duck itch is and that whole relationship and how it impacts humans, a review article would actually be a really great paper to have in your bibliography, so you have that background information. So let's read the abstract to make sure that that's actually what it's saying. Okay, so a lot about talking about the cycle in birds, and then it gets to talking about risk factors for humans, and that's kind of what we touched on in class when I talked about are these birds and Chinese mystery snails and humans immunocompromised from this infection of nematodes, and that could, be a feeding frenzy for bacteria, pretty much. So this looks like a keeper, so let's download that. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to copy, and I'm going to look at, let's find someone's name. Oh, that's a funny name. Burned Source. And let's see if we can find a date. Does not seem to have a date, but it looks like Department of Aquatic Ecology. Okay, so we'll go to bid.me, and then we're going to copy and paste that in. there's our funny name dude, burning stars. That's gotta be it. We're gonna select that. And same thing, they're gonna say, congratulate us, this is what we found. Good job, you're a smart computer. And then we're going to go down to stuff that we can do, like date accessed. And we're going to get that link, put it in, save the annotation, and create citation. Okay, so now we have, you'll see repeats here, it's just because I've filmed this video a couple times. Accidents keep happening. So it is alphabetized. So now we have 2 different articles. You guys are going to do 5. And I'm just going to pretend I have all 5 and start copying and pasting it. So I'm going to hit copy paste. I'm going to go over to my bibliography. I'm going to number it. Great. And go back to BibMe. I did this one when you guys weren't here. And last one. Okay, so here are all of our APA formatted citations. So when you actually are writing your paper, there's another part of APA that concerns you, and that's how to properly cite something. So if I were to say something like, duckage is transferred to humans via bird feces. I need to back up that claim. I need to know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to cite someone else who told me that that's how it happens. And this guy, which one? Yeah, this guy is the review paper, right? So we're going to take the lead person, that's the first name right here, and we're going to type in that person's name. Actually, we're just going to do the last name there. Copy. Paste. And there's this magic thing for 2 or more authors called et al. Et al just means all you other people involved. And then you're going to do the date. And there you go. That is a parenthetical citation APA format. Okay. So for the annotations on this, sorry, sidetrack there, you're going to just write a little blip under each one of your 5 citations and tell me why you're picking this paper and how it's going to help you write your research paper at the end of your experiment. So this one, water quality is a predictor of gastrointestinal illness. Okay, great. So that one's pretty easy. So this paper is relevant for our study because bacteria in recreational water may cause human illness, which sounds pretty obvious, right? But now you can narrow it down more and make it more about what you're doing. So let's say you're doing water depth. Then you can be like, we found, or this, you can write something about uh, bacteria may be found, or harmful, let's say, because there's good bacteria too. In shower depths that can be harmful to humans and animals. Something like that, okay? So you're just tying it back to your paper. It doesn't have to be a lot, 2 to 3 sentences. And then this one, so this one is saying that there are several different types of these little nematodes that can cause the reaction of swimmer's itch. So we can write something about um, infections may be associated with bacterial infections or something like that, okay? So because that's kind of what we're looking for here, right? We're not looking for the nematodes, we're looking to see if there's more bacteria there. Because there's poop, right? There's the Chinese mystery snail poop, and then there's bird poop. Hopefully there's no human poop, but there's a lot of poop going on, so there might be more bacteria there. And then it leads to the question of if you're immunocompromised from these nematodes, are the bacteria going to be a problem too? So then you can write a couple sentences about that. And then this one is probably the most obvious one, where you would just write, this paper is useful to me to understand the process of duck itch and how it happens in the first place, right? Okay, so 2 to 3 sentences on those. We can make them a little bit prettier than mine. And then there you go. That's your bibliography. You just want to make sure you have your title. Your name and all that stuff, all those obvious things. And then this is the part that I mentioned in class that can really bug me, and I think bugs most people, is these websites that will give you the free generators, they will change the text color, and sometimes the text fonts won't match. So you always want to change it back to black. You always want to change it back to whatever font size you're going to be using so it's consistent, and then just click on whatever Times or Arial to make sure it all matches. And that is your annotated bibliography. Stop recording now. There we go.